Hello, everyone. Good evening. I have my friend Ron here with me. How are you doing, Ron?
Great, Roxanne. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It was a hectic day, but I'm ending on a happy note. So I'm excited that you're here because I always tell everyone that we live in a Hallmark town. And we always have these cool little real life Hallmark stories that happen. And you're like a Hallmark story, like Ron, who lives in our small town, and now he writes a book, and now you're going to become famous or infamous.
Yeah. Those two are very similar in some ways.
So tell us a little bit about your history with Hamilton.
So I've lived in Hamilton. I was born and raised here my whole life.
Yep.
I grew up on the southwest corner in a rural spot within Hamilton. So near the blueberry fields, had a big backyard that kind of gave way into a pine tree, like seemingly infinite forest. So I grew up outdoors. We were always outdoors. We were out in the woods with my friends in the neighborhood. We were climbing trees, riding bikes, building clubhouses and stuff. We're playing sports around the house. It seems crazy because today, our kids are like the polar opposite. Whenever,
Yes.
you know, when my kids have company over, they are perpetually indoors. When they go to their friend's house, they're just inside. They're doing something with the phone or making slime or painting something that's going to mess up the carpet later
Of
or clog
course.
the sink. But with us, like we were always outside. I think there had to have been a meeting. Like all the parents in the neighborhood had to have gotten together at some point and said,
You
listen,
know.
I'm not going to let your kid in. You're not going to let my kid in. Heck, I don't let my kid in. Right. So they're going to
Yeah.
stay outside. 1, 2, 3, outside on three. Ready? We all agree. 1, 2, 3, break. And then we were just outside the entire time. So we were always outdoors. But it was great. All the kids in my neighborhood were around the same age as me, so and shared a lot of common interests. I got into sports pretty young. I started playing baseball for the town at the Hamilton Lake Park when I was 7. Played all the way through high school. I played
Nice.
on a couple of township soccer teams, and I went to St. Joe High School. I went there from K through 12. So I had a lot
Yeah.
of friends in Hamilton, living in Hamilton, but I had a lot of friends from Williamstown and Turnersville and Ariel and all the other places that were shipping their kids to St. Joe's as well. And I played on a couple of basketball teams there, some soccer teams, but we were always outside. We were always playing something: tennis, volleyball, baseball. Back then, there was still a good bit of open land, so we could just kind of walk to the abandoned open lot next door and hit the ball as far as we could, and it wasn't going to hit anything. So we were always outdoors, always playing. But somewhere in probably high school, my interests started to shift a bit from sports into music and creativity. I started realizing as my school got bigger and I started introducing myself to more kids that I could do things that I didn't realize other kids couldn't do. I just thought that it was sort of natural. Like
Mhm.
I could hear a song on the radio and sit down on the piano and play what I heard. I could do the same with the guitar by the time I got to college. I could sing pretty well. I could do impressions pretty well of, friends and celebrities, and got me into trouble when I started doing it for teachers when I was in high school.
I was going to say, I know, and maybe your friends didn't always like it either.
Yeah, no, especially when it was like too accurate. Um, but so I started getting into that. I started writing my own songs and kind of experimenting with the piano. My parents got me a piano when I was in, late elementary school, and I'd play that for an hour or two every day. I was just obsessed with it. I loved the
Wow.
idea of being able to hear myself play something that I was hearing elsewhere. It was just so gratifying. And I got into the high school musicals. I did, I really, really loved acting and getting into character and improvising and just creating new things and ideas and feelings and situations. So that was really kind of what I started focusing on in high school. And I realized I had a knack for that. I went to Rutgers University in New Brunswick. I got a degree, a bachelor's in mechanical engineering up there.
Wait,
Um,
let's stop for a second. So you have all this artistic talent, and not that there's anything wrong with it. So you become an engineer. Now, I have a question and maybe a theory. Is it because you knew that that would be a much more stable career and easier to kind of be stable than it would be to go in the arts, or you just loved it all and you went that way?
No, it was because my parents absolutely knew what was better for me than
Yeah,
I did at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And thank God they did. They were like, look, the chances of success and go, because I wanted to go to school for, fine arts or music or something, but
Sure.
just the chances that I am right now still living on my parents' couch after having gotten that degree versus having
Mhm.
been 20 years in, corporate America,
Yeah.
about the same if I would have gotten that degree. So I'm actually really thankful
Yes.
that they pushed me to do that because I was really good at math, and so I was able to apply that at Rutgers. And
You're just for 1 minute. I know for those that are listening, I know your family and they're brilliant. They're all very mathematical minded, but then they're also very talented. Even like your nieces and nephews, they're talented with like musical and acting. So it is genetic. So I'm not surprised. And that's kind of cool because sometimes when you have a brain that has that creative artsy part, you don't have that mathematical, although singing and mathematical brains do go together. So I can maybe see
yeah,
that's just the teacher in me being analytical. So I'm not surprised. And I think that probably if you had gone the other way, you'd be, well, you kind of are now, you'd be just as successful. Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, no, I've noticed that a lot too. A lot of those logical, analytical thinkers wind up having some sort of creative bone in them
Yeah. Got to let it
turn
out.
that. But so I got the degree in engineering. I started working at South Jersey Gas right in town as an
Right.
engineer. I worked there for 8 or 9 years. Got an apartment in Williamstown with a really close friend of mine, and
Uh-huh.
I would be, engineer guy during the day, and then I would go home, and at nights and weekends, we did everything else that we ever wanted to do. Like we hosted our own podcast, like this comedy slash music podcast. We directed musical theater for middle school and high school, and for Atlantic County, social groups, and we created our own production company. So we would host bands and singer songwriters and groups to come in and record their albums with us. So I got the best of both worlds. I got the stable job, but I was also able to have that creative outlet at home to let some of those juices flow and stop those muscles from atrophying. So it was really great being able to get to do both. It turned out to be a real blessing.
So did any of that spill into this whole, like, because writing is writing lyrics. I always tell my students that the lyrics to a song are just like a poem just put to music. And did any of that, like when you started to write, did you ever think in the back of your mind you'd like to do something different, like poetry or like a book? Was that there?
Yes, yeah, it was. There are some times when an idea comes into my head that's music first, and then I have an idea as to what the lyrics need to be behind it. But
Mhm.
sometimes it's the other way around, and I have an idea of a theme that I want to write about, and then I put the music to it later. When that happens, sometimes it doesn't fit neatly into a song, and it winds up being something more or different, or it's better for a different medium. So I'm actually writing a novel now that is sort of like a romance sci-fi thriller mix, and it came from a dream. All I remember is 10 seconds of a song in my head that I had never heard before. But by the time I started writing down the ideas, I was like, this isn't a song. This is something else. So yeah, that happens a lot where something that I think is a song winds up turning into something else. I think as I keep writing this series and future books like this, I'll probably write a song that correlates to the book, and
Yes.
YouTube video and publish it along with it so you can sing along to the book.
Yes, that's perfect. So do you have a copy of the book with you? Your
I
book?
do.
All
I
right,
do.
hold it up for everyone. Oh, wait a minute, you froze. It'll
There you
unfreeze. There you go. Elves don't fart. I love it. Okay, so tell us how this came to be.
go. Elves don't fart. So I was so I was sitting around. I was sitting on the couch with my daughter 3 years ago, right before Christmas, and we were watching a Christmas movie. I don't remember which one. She was 7 at the time, so we were just snuggling on the couch. Nighttime, the Christmas tree's up, and we have an elf on a shelf, right? And the elf on the shelf had moved that night
Yeah.
to one of the Christmas tree branches, and it was hugging onto it. It was pretty close to us. And I love to sort of engage their sense of wonder and just, encourage them to improvise and just to creatively think. So I start asking, like, isn't it amazing how this elf he moves night to night to all these different places, and you never hear him. Have you ever heard him? I've never heard him. Nope, I've never heard him. He sits there all day. He never moves, and you never hear him. Like never at all. It's amazing. So I'm just trying to entice her, and then finally, this sweet girl who's always smiling just looks up at me deadpanned and says, "What if he farts?" So 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 I'm the dad. I'm the authority on all things
Right,
Santa
right.
and Elves. I've got to answer this question.
Uh-huh.
So I start to answer it. I'm like, okay, I gotta. There's something that's that's going to be pretty fun about this. And a lot of times when I'm reading stories to them, like it's the same book over and over again that you read,
Yes.
we kind of grow tiresome of it. It's
Yes.
the same thing. So a lot of times I'll read them, in
Mhm.
a different way every night. And even when that gets old, I'll start to just create my own bedtime story for the kids that I just come up with and just sing or tell to them. So I love sort of improvising stuff. And when I do that, I like to jot it down. If it's really good or funny, I'll remember it and write it back again. This was one of those times where I was like, I want to write this down so that I could tell it to them later. But as I started writing it, I originally thought it was going to be a song, but I started filling up a couple of pages, and I was like, I think this is probably going to be better presented as a children's book. So it was a crazy idea based on an off the wall conversation that I had with my 7-year-old about an elf on a shelf that turned into 3 years later a children's book.
So how long did the whole process take? Like when you decided, okay, this is it. Now I'm going to make a book out of it. How long did it take you?
Well, it's been almost 3 years.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it doesn't take that long. Like
Right.
there were just some stuff with life that happened in
Yeah.
that
Okay.
interval. Um, I think that if we were really going after it regularly without pausing, it probably
Right.
would have taken 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
The longest part was just working with the illustrators to get the idea and the concept of the first few images right.
Right.
Once they had that, the rest of it kind of came through really well. They started giving me page by page for review, and it started happening much
That's
more.
good. So you had a lot of say in all of that, the whole process, the visual part, like the artwork. And can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can you tease? I don't want you to read the book. I want you to just open up some tease so we could see some of it. And then we have some questions that we'll take now before I ask you anything else because it's stuff you can address right away.
sure.
Just
So
the
let's
page window for us.
go to a page here. So
Oh,
these
that's
are the elves.
work. Wow.
These are the reindeer
It's
and
full
elves.
color.
Oh yeah, full color. It took a while to get to the point where like the elves looked right and
Right.
the
Okay.
North Pole looked the way that I wanted it to look in my
Okay.
head. When you first start the process, they give you a form to fill out. You send them the manuscript, and
Mhm.
then you kind of document how you think each page should look. What's the
Okay.
setting? What are the people doing? So you try to be as descriptive as possible.
Mhm.
I was just really fortunate to work with a really good group, and they turned it around in a way that it was really kind of cohesive and in line with how I imagined it. So it worked out really well.
That's nice. So in a picture book as a teacher, I use picture books all the time, and I've used them even with high school all the way down to the littles and for different reasons. So you use them because someone was asking, which I will get to. You use it because for the little, sometimes it's the message that's in there. And then sometimes with the older children, it's just to pick it apart and use it as a learning tool, which I will be using your book for as a learning tool. So yes, I will. So I'm thinking the age wise, because this is what age range for this book. What were your intentions for the age range? What were you hoping?
I think grade school,
Okay.
K through 5, best for, young enough that they're still into the Christmas spirit type kids.
Right.
Um, but yeah, my kids now are 9 and 10, and they love it because I wrote it kind of with and for
Yeah.
them. But
Yes.
I could see this playing out really well for first, second, third graders.
Okay.
Even kindergartnens know how to read, and as long as you're not uncomfortable with the word fart, there's nothing
Right.
really else that's more inappropriate than that.
It's
It's
great.
just
I think it's
a lot of
great.
fun.
I think
Yeah.
it's great. Who else? Oh, Martha. We haven't had a chance to get to this, so they were wondering where can they buy this book?
Well, you can buy the hardback on Barnes and Noble. You can buy the paperback on Amazon, and you can buy the e-reader on Apple Bookstore. So any one of those three, they're all up and running and live right now.
Cool, very cool. Now, are you going to do a series? Did I hear that somewhere?
I am, yes, yeah. So this is the series is called the Roly Poly Elves, and this is the first chapter in that series. I've written the second one already. It's going to be more. It's going to be called The Drummer of the Summer, and it's about how the elves play in the North Pole during the summer, which isn't like our summer. It's snowy up there during the summer.
Okay.
So it's going to be about them. I start to kind of investigate the actual individual elf characters and give them names and personality traits and skill sets. And so I'm going to investigate that a little further and just kind of take it through the process and see where it goes. But my overall goal here is for this just to be just to give the parents the gift of hearing their own kids laugh, because there is nothing better in the world to me than hearing my own kids laugh.
Oh, that's so
So that's
cute.
the
I
idea.
love that. So what is it? It's called the Roly Poly Elves.
The Roly Poly Elves, yeah.
That's the series. Now, do you have a website?
I do. RonChance.com.
Okay. So I don't know if I did or not, but in when it posted on YouTube, there's a description. I'm not sure if I included that in there, but if I didn't, I will go back and add it in so people can access it. Do you have links when we're on your website to where to Amazon, or we
Yeah.
should just go directly? Okay, good.
Yep.
That's
You
good.
can you can access
Yeah.
the book you can access all of the links to all of the versions of the book from the site. On that site, I will eventually be posting music videos associated to these books. I'll do some Q&A stuff with the audience.
Oh,
Um,
that's good. Yeah.
there's a way to contact me through there. There's like a little form you can send me an email kind of thing. So yeah, that's going to be live and running for a while this series plays itself out.
Now, I'm thinking, what if somebody wants to have it autographed? How could we go about doing that, I wonder?
I am more than happy to autograph and send copies to anyone. This is the first book I've ever written, so like what I've done so far is I've ordered a lot of author copies and
Okay.
signed them and gave them out. Like, here, friend at work, here, teacher friend of mine, here, friend who owns daycare, here, somebody who works that works at a library. You know, yes, I'm more than happy to sign and deliver
Cool.
upon request. I'll actually be in town for the next 5 days.
So you should be
Oh,
doing, yeah. And then of course I want you to come to my school, and then your alumni, like they heard and they would like you to come visit them. So we got a little book tour going on for you.
I know, it's amazing. It is quite wild right now.
What if you could turn it into like an animation, like a little cartoon? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Like, because these, I can this I wrote this book I wrote the majority of it in a night, and
Okay.
I edited it, over the course of the next couple of weeks until I got to the point where I liked it all. But once something hits me, I can usually run through and write like this. I wrote the sequel to this like 3 weekends ago in a weekend. So the volume that I can put out here is going to be enough that I think it could be enough content for a TV series. So I would love, I would love to do that. That'd be incredible. This would
That
be,
would be wonderful.
yeah,
Now, I think I saw somewhere on social media that you already made like a best, like number one seller of, what is it, the children's
yeah,
category or something on Amazon. Is that what it was?
yeah. For 4 days, it was the number one new release on Amazon in children's mystery and wonder. So it completely blew my mind, and it was entirely because of Facebook. Really, I mean, I posted it on Facebook. I got so much support and positive responses from my
Wonderful.
family and friends, and they shared it, and they got some good responses, and then they shared it, and it was just wild. I never imagined it was going to do anything like that going forward, and I'm just so happy it's out there now and that people can access it. So yeah, if that's the other great joy of being an artist and a singer songwriter and an author is once you get your material in front of somebody else and they know what you wrote and it came from you, that is just so meaningful and awe-inspiring and fulfilling. So I just you can't get better than that. So I would love to to
Well,
to do that for anyone that wants it.
I love that. When you write, do you have to be like kids have to be in bed, no one could be around, you need some quiet, or you're okay in the middle of chaos? What kind of writer are you?
No, I kind of need to be alone. I need to,
Mhm.
yeah, I need space to have
Yeah,
to completely zone out. I
yeah.
usually, I'm single now. I live in an apartment by myself, and so I usually just put on, brown noise on the Echo, the
Yes.
Amazon
Yep.
on Alexa, whose name I won't say because it'll
That's
start
okay.
talking back to
I
me during
know.
the
I
interview. Um,
Or
I'll
if you said it, mine might do it.
Yeah, right. So I'll just play brown noise on that. I'll put some dark lights on. Maybe I'll light a candle and I'll just focus and zone in. Once something hits me, I got to write it until I'm done with it. I obsess on it until it's done.
Cool. Okay, it's your creative process. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what else. And so it's not just going to be out at Christmas. You have plans, through like you said, what, summertime, right? For the next.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working with the illustrator now to get this next one out. Hopefully by mid to late spring. Sometime for the summer would be preferable.
That's cute. I love it. Now, wait a minute. Before okay. Oh, Christina. Christina's saying that she liked the illustrations. And she has a wonderful little grandson named Oliver. She would probably love it because didn't you say what was the title or what was it? What's the second book about?
It's called The Drummer in the Summer.
Okay, because her husband is a drummer and plays the piano and guitar. He used to be in a band. She's sharing right here. So that would be cool. And then also a drummer. Yes. I
Me
think,
too. I
yeah.
think we get along.
Oh, I
You know,
love
that,
that.
that's another thing that inspires me to write these books is that I've read so many children's books to my kids,
Mhm.
and I realize that I hate to say it, but I kind of get bored after reading some of them, and I think reading a book to your kids ought to be as enjoyable to the parent as it is to the kids. It
It's
can
true.
be, if it
Yeah.
if the book has a good rhyme scheme and a good tempo and a good rhythm and pattern, it could be fun, just as fun for the parents. So that's the kind of style that I'm writing this next book in. It's think like Lin Manuel Miranda Hamilton type, very super rhymey, lyrically type
Cool.
stuff.
I love it.
I want to make it so that parents have a good time too,
Well,
because
thank you. We like that. And teachers, we like that. You know how many times I have to read the book over and over and over again too? Many. Um, your kids grow up, I still get the same age, so I'm reading it for years after years after years. Now, Martha has a question for you. She wants to know, has anyone recorded your songs?
yeah, I've recorded several of my songs. I have a YouTube channel, RCRU1009.
I'm putting this up here now. RCRU.
1009. I think
Okay.
that's I think that's my YouTube handle, and I've put 5 or 6 songs that I've written up on my YouTube channel. I write in all genres. Like there's no genre that kind of sticks out to me. I just am moved by some music, and it just something sticks, and I've got to write it until it completes. So there's some rock stuff, there's some alternative stuff. The most recent one I did is kind of like a sea shanty. So they're all over the map really, but they're just things that came to me in a moment or in a dream that I had to get down so that I could remember that I had thought that and that I did that.
Nice. You got to get it out and get it down, or you're afraid you'll lose it. I
Yeah.
I used to I remember I would get a thought driving in the car for when I was writing, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, that's so good." So this is back in the day. I call my answer machine, and I'd read it on like I talk on the like my answer machine, so I wouldn't forget it. And then I know it's so silly, but now you can write it or do it on your phone. Like phones are way more techy now. But anyway, I get what you're saying. I can relate.
I
So
still do that all the time. If I got an idea in the car, I go to my notes and I'll
yes,
just
yes,
sing the 5 second riff or
yes,
remember to do this. And
yes.
I have the worst short term memory, so the phone
Yeah.
helps with
So
that.
I'm going to make sure this is posted on Facebook, but I'm also going to make sure that all that extra info that you're giving me, all those links are inside the description for this particular episode on my podcast, which streams live to YouTube, so we can access it that way. That'll be great.
Yeah,
And you'll have to come back when you have the next book out, and you have to come to my school and be a guest and tell these wonderful stories to our students and inspire them and make them laugh.
absolutely. That sounds
Yeah.
like a blast. I would love that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us. We can say goodnight to everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much, Roxanne, for having me. It was great to see you.
Sure. Don't leave. We'll say goodnight when we're behind the studio when I end the broadcast. But everyone, you have a happy Thanksgiving. I won't see you for a few days, so I'll be caught podcast free for like until early December. I think December the 5th when we're having a Hardee's Christmas party, unless for some reason I have to do a last minute promotional thing. But I plan on taking a little break. What about you, Ron? What are you going to be doing? You coming this way? You said.
I'll be up there for Thanksgiving and for Christmas with the kids.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right.
Can't wait. I love being back up there.
Aw, you'll be back in your hometown, and we'll
Yeah.
see each other. All
Yeah.
right. Good night, everyone.